Hello everybody, welcome to St Michael's Church online on this Mothering Sunday, the 14th of March 2021. So welcome to you all, welcome if you're joining us for the very first time. It's great to have you with us and hope that you find this time a good one, where we spend these moments together and our theme, our Bible story and all that stuff. And do say hello, whether you're new or whether you're joining us for the umpteenth time. It's just lovely to see you saying good morning and hello to each other as we gather this morning. That's if you're watching live. If you're watching at another time of day or week, then also a big welcome to you as well. We hope that you find this time together, listening into this talk, encouraging, inspiring, challenging, all those sorts of things really. So as usual, if you're watching live, you want to join us for Zoom coffee and chat pretty much straight after this is finished. I'll be there opening that up. The link will come up here in the comments, so you'll be able to join us if you'd like to. So I hope your day started out okay, and that you're able to be comfortable now, maybe somewhere. Maybe you're watching on your own. God bless you if you're on your own. May you feel connected with us and with other people. Maybe names coming up that you recognise if you're with your family and there's children buzzing around and you're trying to get some moments of peace. Well, God bless you too. And hopefully you're having a good day if you're a mother at home with your family as well. So this is Mothering Sunday, and last week we were thinking about the story of a dad, parable of the loving father and the lost sons. We were talking about a dad and his parenting. It was a fantastic story. That was episode 1 of that story. We've got episode 2 of that story next week, okay? But here in the middle of it, Mothering Sunday, continuing that parenting kind of focus. So today's the day when we thank God for all that is best about mums, whilst recognising that this day, you know, can be hard for some people as well. Not everybody's able to be a mum who would like to be. There are those mothers whose children are having to be looked after by somebody else. Our own experience of our own mother might not be one filled with happy memories. It may have been difficult. There are those mums too who have lost a child. Our thoughts and prayers, of course, today with the family of Sarah Everard, as we've been thinking about her in the news and all that's been happening to her. So we bear all these things in mind as we thank God for the care that we do receive that's really good from mothers, from aunts, from grandmothers. Maybe there was another female figure in our lives as we grew up who was good news to us. So through the best of motherhood, we can experience in the loving goodness of God and his parenting, his mothering, her mothering of us, if you like. Well, I wonder if any of you have seen the film. It was on Channel 4 a couple of years ago, called Forsama. Sama, S-A-M-A. It's available on Catch Up on All 4. That's Channel 4's thing. And it's a fantastic film. Forsama is both an intimate and epic journey into the female experience of war. It's a love letter from a young mother to her daughter. The film tells of Wad al-Khatib's life through 5 years of the uprising in Aleppo, Syria, as she falls in love, gets married and gives birth to Sama, all while cataclysmic conflict rises around her. There's one quote from it where she says, "The happiness you brought was laced with fear. Our new life with you felt so fragile as the freedom we felt in Aleppo." And then as she's filming, you can hear the aircraft, the bombs, the explosions and the destruction going on around her. It's an amazing film, well worth a watch, for Sama. It's a demonstration in that film of protective love, tender care and constant hope that's necessary often for mothers, for parents. And the story that we're going to look at in just a moment in the Bible is of a child's birth into a world that also has a backdrop of oppression and violence and slavery as well. So we recognise the best of our mothering, the best of parenting could be putting together that fantastic birth plan. I remember it for ours years ago, you know, how this birth's going to happen, what kind of pain relief you're going to have, what ward it's going to be, what birthing partner's going to be there with you, blah, blah, blah. And then if it works out like that, brilliant. It doesn't always work out like that, but we just sense, and we hear in this story that it's not like that at all. God's people are down in Egypt, and they are growing in number. God is fulfilling the promise to Abraham, his people, that his people will grow in number, that they'll be blessed and they will be a blessing. But there's a new king in Egypt, on the block, if you like, who knows nothing of the history of God's people, who seems to know little about God's family. And the sign of blessing for Israel, growth of their families, and is bad news to Pharaoh, this king. It's a sign for him of disaster and threat. So he plans to do away, and this is pretty horrible, with every newborn Hebrew baby boy, and say that they must be thrown into the river Nile. It's a brutal plan. And that's the backdrop to the story that we're going to hear about one particular child, which actually is a story which has a surprising end. And it involves the best of what a mother can bring to us. The best of what God can bring to us in our lives. Protective love, tender care, and constant hope. So here's the story. It's from Exodus chapter 2, beginning at the first verse. A man from Levi, the Levi tribe, married a woman from the same tribe. And she later had a baby boy. He was a beautiful child, and she kept him inside for 3 months. But when she could no longer keep him hidden, she made a basket out of reeds and covered it with tar, put him in a basket and placed it in the tall grass along the edge of the Nile River. The baby's older sister stood off at a distance to see what would happen to him. But about that time, one of the king's daughters came down to take a bath in the river, while her servant women walked alongside the riverbank. She saw the basket in the tall grass and sent one of the young women to pull it out of the water. When the king's daughter opened the basket, she saw the baby and felt sorry for him because he was crying. She said, "This must be one of the Hebrew babies." At once, the baby's older sister came up and asked, "Do you want me to get one of the Hebrew women to take care of the baby for you?" "Yes," the king's daughter answered. So the girl brought the baby's mother, and the king's daughter told her, "Take care of this child, and I will pay you." The baby's mother carried him home and took care of him. And when he was old enough, she took him to the king's daughter, who adopted him. She named him Moses because she said, "I pulled him out of the water." So there's our Bible story today. We're just going to explore that for a few minutes now and see some of the overlap that there is with this mother's experience and her mothering and our experience today. Many of us are familiar with the story of Moses. You know, he was one of the great heroes of Israel in the Old Testament. You know, he's a massive figure in the Old Testament. He leads God's people out of slavery. Do you remember that story? Towards the promised land. All sorts of films and a great animation film made of that as well. But maybe we're not so familiar with his birth and the vital part that his mother played in keeping him alive. What we see here in the story is that actually right at the start of this story, of Moses' story, is the important part that the women play in his life. They are fully involved, they are fully engaged, they are wise and they are courageous. As will be in later stories, the case of Jesus' mother Mary and her relative Elizabeth, who will give birth to John the Baptist. The women are all over these stories. In fact, in this bit of the story, we don't even see Moses' father. So a beautiful baby boy is born. And what we see here is what we celebrate and give thanks for today. The best of mothering, protective love, tender care, constant hope. We read how he was a beautiful child and she kept him inside for 3 months. Of course, that's what we say about every one of our children. They're beautiful to us. They're amazing. You know, it just never amazes us, does it? How when we hold a child, maybe not our child, when we hold a baby, and we might have had our own children, all that sort of thing, but no matter, when you hold a child, when you see one of those tiny little ones, just the wonder of it, the amazement of it. And it's to think that, you know, we made this little one. He's such a joy. And then to hold that love, that that lovely little one is just a miracle. I wonder at the ways in which we are thankful for our own mothers, who gave us that protective love. Moses' mother kept him. He was supposed to be taken away. I mean, there's a whole story about how, backstory here is how the midwives were supposed to do away with the children. But the midwives were Israeli midwives, and they didn't want to do that. So they just had said to Pharaoh, you know, well, they just give birth before we get there, these Hebrew mothers. And so you can imagine just keeping him inside, maybe wanting to try and keep him quiet. I wonder what ways today we are thankful for a mother or a woman in our lives who gave us that kind of beautiful, protective love, keeping us safe, protecting us from harm or from something in one way or another, great or small, some danger, some threat to us. Maybe that's how you are mothering somebody young right now, or maybe mothering somebody not so young, just somehow keeping them protected and keeping them inside. That could be a metaphor for all sorts of things, couldn't it? Maybe that's what you're thanking God for too. His protecting love has kept you safe in the past and is maybe keeping you safe today. So there's that protective love, and then there's a whole load of tender care as a basket is made. When she could no longer keep him hidden, we hear, she made a basket out of reeds and covered it with tar, and she put him in a basket. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful image. You know, you wonderful mothers, you know, and we who watch you can just work and just listen to that bit of the story and work with that and think about that. It's maybe something for us to reflect on. You know, she takes something she knew about, you know, reeds that would have grown in the river nearby that were used for making baskets and things around the house. And she uses the skills that she had and the history that she's got and the environment she's in to make a basket, a particular handmade basket, uniquely for this operation of just placing it, being able to place her child within it. So she'd have thought about the size of it. And then she's going to think how, you know, once she's put it in the river, how she's going to keep it waterproof. So she gets this tar, and it's an act of love and tender care for her baby boy. And you can imagine her just kind of placing him in the basket and saying, oh, that fits. It's going to be all right. I hope it's going to be all right. I've done everything I can. I've kept you quiet, but I can't keep you quiet anymore. I'm going to have to launch you out there into the world. It's a lovely image, this mother and what she does, tenderly placing him in. I wonder in what ways you have done that for a child of yours, that you kind of showed that kind of tender care and something that you prepared for your child or are preparing for your child, something which you're going to tenderly, carefully place your child into. I wonder what this basket could be a metaphor for, a symbol for, something that resonates with you. God bless you if that's what you're doing at the moment, or that's what you've done in the past. Yes, that protective love, and then this tender care. I wonder how you are practically making a basket for your child. I wonder what ways we're all thankful for the best of motherhood, where we've been shown that tender care, a mother that showed us some practical kindness. Or maybe we're thankful to God today for the way that he has mothered us and given us some kind of protecting boundary around us in some way. Maybe, you know, he's tenderly placed us somewhere where he trusts that we're going to be looked after. So there's that protective love and there's that tender care. And then there's that, I don't know, I just like to think of a massive hope that she has for this child, a constant hope. I mean, there's always hope when you hold a brand new one. I wonder what you're going to be. I sometimes ask parents preparing their children for baptism. Sometimes I imagine as I hold that that little one at a baptism, I say, I wonder what it is you're hoping for this child. Maybe you thought that too. We have our hopes for our children. And maybe once we've got past the kind of, well, I hope they do all right at school. I hope they maybe go to college and maybe get some qualifications. I hope they get a job and I hope they earn lots of money and I hope that they'll be happy. Most of us, all of us probably go through those sorts of things with our children. But, what is it we really hope for our children? And I often hear the one, well, I just want my children to be happy. And I kind of get that. I want my children to be happy too. But there's something I think that we as Christians hope for even more than happiness. It's about something to do with that connectedness with this wonderful, holy, awesome, loving God. Because there is a way to be happy that isn't being holy. There is a way to be happy that isn't good for your oneself or for other people. So I kind of get the happiness thing, but we want more, don't we? We want to know a kind of wholeness and a well-being and a unity with the God who loves us and has made us. That hope. And then this mother has to exercise, a resilient hope, if you like, a constant hope, because she's kind of launching her loved one in this basket that she's made into the river. Pharaoh had said to the midwives to throw the baby boys into the river. She is lovingly, tenderly placing him into the same river. How ironic is that? Of course, we've all done our kind of launching our children into the water in one way or another and just let them go. We all have to go through those moments, don't we? That first day at school, perhaps. I can still remember, one of our children, first day of school, walking up towards the school and then looking back and saying, but you will come with me, won't you? Well, we could go so far, I think, depending, I don't know how it works these days, but we could walk into the classroom and see them where their bag was going to be put and all that sort of thing. But in the end of the day, we had to let them be and let them go and let them go to somebody else to look after them. Delivering a child to university, excuse me, for the first time. I can remember tears around that one as well. It's just so difficult. Entrusting them maybe to hospital care because they're not well, just kind of letting them go there to somebody else's care, or them moving away and going through the whole empty nest thing. She put him in a basket and placed him in the tall grass along the edge of the Nile River. What will become of this little one, this little scrap of humanity? Somehow left to the currents, the wind, to some predator or other, she lets go. And sometimes so must we. But God is watching this story too, for God has plans. For God plans for the future of the children of Israel somehow rest squarely on the shoulders of this one who is at present a baby drifting in a basket in a river to who knows where. It's amazing where God chooses to plant his plans and do his stuff. But I also find it really encouraging because it means that some of the things that seem fragile around our lives, in my life, that God somehow plants his big ideas there. But maybe that's for another talk. So what happens next is amazing. Just whiz through this bit. The baby's older sister stood off at a distance to see what would happen. You can imagine, seeing her mum launch their little newest one in the family, and she's on the riverbank there watching. About that time, one of the king's daughters comes down to bathe in the river. Of course, we're all into our kind of, well, not all into it, but we know the kind of wild swimming and wild bathings are massive things these days. Something I'm thinking about for when spring comes. I've never really done that, but I'm just thinking about it a little bit. But maybe whatever she's coming down there for, and there's a picture of her getting into the water or getting ready to get into the water, and her servants, the female servants, along the bank just watching things, maybe holding her clothes, whatever. She sees the basket in the tall grass and sent one of the young women to pull it out. And here we can sense it. We are hearing the story for the very first time. And what's going to happen? This is one of the king's daughters. She's going to, what's she going to do? She knows what should happen to these baby boys. When she opens up the basket, she sees the baby. She feels sorry for him because he was crying. Here is the tenderness of a mothering, compassionate, caring, loving, heart. She is expressing, we're seeing in her just what we want to be seeing. And she says this must be one of the Hebrew babies. So there's the threat of danger here, but there's this wave of compassion that just comes over the riverside at this time. At once the baby's older sister, remember she'd been watching, comes up. I mean, this is really brave of her. Maybe she sees something that's going on, and a fantastic question. Do you want me to find one of the Hebrew women to take care of the baby for you? I mean, she's risking a lot here by saying this. She could have been seen as being part of the conspiracy to keep this baby boy alive against her, the woman's father's edict and orders. So she's on tenterhooks. She asks her question. Thank God for all the younger women who take risks like that to make sure someone's going to be looked after. Yes, the king's daughter answered. So the girl, which Hebrew women does she bring? She brings the child's own mother. What a brilliant bit of story this is. And the king's daughter tells, he's going to be called Moses in due course, Moses' mother, take care of this child. She's probably thinking, I'd like to do nothing more than take care of this child. And then she hears the word, and I will pay you. She's going to be paid to look after her own child. The baby's mother carried him home, took care of him, and when he was old enough, she took him to the king's daughter, who adopted him. She named him Moses because that kind of means I pulled him out of the water. What an amazing, amazing story. Centuries later, a young mother called Mary will lay her precious baby Jesus in a feeding trough, in a manger, for that's all there is. We imagine her placing him there with protective love, tender care, and this constant enduring hope for what will become of that scrap of humanity as well. Well, quite a lot, it turns out. So today we give thanks for every time we've experienced this protective love, tender care, constant enduring hope that somebody invested in us, shown by mothers too, not all that, just those close to us, but those mothers across the world who bring up their children today in really difficult circumstances. We give thanks for every bit of love, care and hope that we have experienced and that we are able to give to a child, young or older, today. And so, we're just going to bear in mind a whole range of mothers as we come to pray and ask for God's blessing on this day. So, if you're a new mum with your first child, may God bless you. May God bless you with some sleep, maybe quite a bit, and lots of energy. For those of you who are finding parenting really difficult at the moment, a tiny one or a big grown-up one, may God bless you with wisdom. For those of you who struggle with your own parents, with your own mother, may God bless you with patience and insight. For those of you who would love to or would love to have been a mum, but it didn't happen or it hasn't happened yet, may God bless you. For those of you who are very happy not to be mothers and want to be accepted as such, may God bless you too. For those of you who have lost a child to illness or disease or tragedy, and this day will be a day with some tears, may God bless you with his loving, comforting presence. For those of you who never knew your mum and have questions, may God bless you. For those of you mums who are letting a child go at this time, may God bless you. And so we thank you, God, for every one of our mothers who was wonderful, who was kind and caring, who showed love and care, and maybe still shows enduring hope towards us. We thank you, God. Amen. So thanks for being with us today, wonderful people. I'll continue to pray for you through the day, pray for one another. I know as I look out on our churchyard here at St Michael's, I know this will be a day when I'll see people wander up with flowers, maybe have some conversations with some folk too. And so may God bless you. One final thing to say to those of you who are kind of regular members of St Michael's Church, thank you for those of you who continued with your regular giving or your occasional gifts. It's really important to us. We have really struggled financially over this last year. Because of us not being in church, we've lost money through like our weddings and the large weddings and larger funerals in church, the money that's given then. And just for our regular Sunday worship, we know we have quite a bit of money that's given on those Sundays. And also, no, thank you to those of you who continue to give in spite of the fact that, you know, money's been tough for you. And I want to encourage you to keep giving. We raise all our money ourselves. And as we look forward to gradually unlocking church life some more, we just want to keep on and accelerate the things that we're doing, which do cost us money. So please, thank you for that aspect of your worship that you give to God, which is to give money to us as well. So thank you very much indeed. Keep you posted on opening up church. We are looking probably, but look out for final details, to open up our church Good Friday, Easter Sunday and then onwards, but we'll keep you posted about how we're doing that. We're going to keep doing the online things for now as well. God bless you, everybody. Look forward to seeing some of you on Zoom if you're watching live. God bless. Have a wonderful rest of this Mothering Sunday. Bye now.